Hi, I'm Grace, and this is going to be my third video entry for my process journal for my personal project this year. I know at the end of my last video, I said I was going to work on this page, which is getting into the specifics of my idea that I wanted to do and getting ready to actually research my project. But then I realized I haven't talked about how I decided which project I was actually going to do from my brainstorming the possible topics or themes. So I decided to move my specifying video to my next video and focus this video on deciding which of these I wanted to do and the thought process I went to decide which one I was choosing. In the end, I did choose story writing, but this is my thought process on how I got there. This was the brainstorming and possible topics and themes that I had in my last video. And this is an important part for my video this time as well because this time I was using it to think about why each one is important or why I shouldn't do this one, what this one means to me, how much do I really want to do this one. And so I'm going to be looking at this page once again. It's hard to see once again, but I'm sure if you go back to my last video, the words match up. The first one was how to make animations. How to make animations I really wanted to do for a simple reason. I love cartoons. I remember waking up in the mornings as a little child and running downstairs and watching Saturday morning cartoons, staying up late at night to watch anime with my friends, and going to movies even now to watch the latest Cars movie, and they're all animated videos. And I thought, if I love animated things this much, why don't I make one of my own? So I put down as option. And then I decided I shouldn't do this one. It wasn't because I didn't think I had the capabilities to do it or anything else, but because with how to make animations, I tried to do this earlier on in the year before the project started as a free time thing. And I just didn't have any interest in continuing it. It didn't keep my interest for long periods of time. I'd do it and then I'd keep going on with it, but it wasn't something I truly kept wanting to do. And my animations didn't turn out that well because in the end, I hadn't put my entire heart into creating it. So I thought, if I couldn't do it back then, I doubt I could do it now. To keep focusing on one thing is an extremely important part of the personal project, and I honestly didn't think I could do it very well if I couldn't do it before. I learned from my past mistakes, so I thought, no, I can't do this one. So I got rid of the idea. Well, didn't get rid of it, but I decided it wasn't something that I should be doing for my personal project. The next idea I had was editing videos. This idea came along the lines of I enjoy having my picture taken because I'm not camera shy like many people in my grade. And another reason was I remembered back in grade 8 when for drama class we had to make videos and someone had to edit it. I enjoyed the idea. Was one of the main heroines. I was one of the main characters for the video, and I enjoyed thinking about the fact that someone afterwards was going to take this home and edit the videos. And I thought, if they can do it, why can't I? It sounds like a lot of fun. But then I ran into a problem with this idea. I realized if I need to edit a video, I need to have a video to edit. And I didn't have any past videos to edit because I didn't actually film myself too often. So I thought, if I don't have videos to edit, I need to make videos so I can edit them afterwards. And that was a great idea at the time because depending on what I decided to film, whether it was a fantasy, a science fiction, or even a love story, it was going to have different things I need to learn how to edit in different ways. And I thought that's great. But then I came to the realization that I love to act and I love improving my acting a lot and trying the best I can. And then I realized because I love acting so much, I'd be a lot more focused on the actual acting part than the editing part. And that completely strays away from my original idea of video editing. And so, unlike how to make animations where I would lose interest in my project, with editing videos, I would stray from the original idea that I needed to do, which means I would have a complete write up and questions and all these ideas that have nothing to do with the final project. And it's not because my video would have nothing to do with my project, but because I spent so much more time and effort on a different part of the subject than what I actually needed to finish. So then I thought, this is not a very good idea for me, mostly because of my personality. So then I thought, no, I can't do this one either. My next idea was story writing. I really liked this one because I could choose one thing out of a whole variety of things, such as fantasy stories, love stories, and then there was also the fact that I could choose different points of view, and it allowed a lot of freedom on my part, what I wanted to write about. So I thought, yes, this is a good one. I continued to look at this idea to see if there's any reason why I shouldn't do it. And I honestly couldn't think of any reason why this was a bad idea. In my honest opinion, I still can't find any reason why it would be a bad idea. So I thought, if I can't find any flaws in this one, I'll have to come back to this one. But for the time being, I'll leave it in. And that's what I did. My next idea was making cosplay costumes. It was really clothing in general, but I thought cosplay costumes just sounded more fun because costumes are more exotic looking than normal clothes. I thought, why do I want to do this one? The first reason I could think about was because I want to try dressing up as my favorite anime characters. I've seen on the internet people dressed up in their favorite anime characters and going to comic conventions or anime conventions, and it seemed like so much fun. Some of them are really well done, while others are not so well done. So I thought, why not try making it as a personal project? Second reason that came to me of why I wanted to do this was because it'd be a good life skill for me in the future. If I wanted to make clothing for myself or my brother just for fun, or if I, to be honest, had children in the future or a husband, I wanted to be able to make clothing for them using my own hands. It seems more special that way if I gave it to them. So I thought, why not learn how to make something really difficult, such as cosplay costumes, and then learn how to make something normal afterwards? Shouldn't it be easier that way? That was my honest thinking in this point. But then I came to my problems. My problem was that I realized that over the summer I had been thinking, I'm going to make a cosplay costume. Yes, I'm going to do it. I will do it. Over and over again, I kept thinking this, but in the end, I went to school in September, realizing I hadn't even tried to start. This made me realize that the idea of making a cosplay costume was something I did want to try, but it was not something high on my priorities list to learn. And ever since I heard about this project in grade 9, I've always thought I want to do something that is very meaningful and very special and very important to me. I thought that if this idea was not very high on my priorities list, I doubted that it was going to be very special or important. And I didn't want that as my project. So in the end, I thought, I'm sorry, but this is not something I want to be doing as well. So I decided in the end, I won't do this idea either. My next idea that I had was making a website all about diabetes. The reason this one interested me was because my entire family has a history of diabetes. My grandmas on both sides have diabetes. I think my grandfather on my mother's side has diabetes. And I believe many people in my extended family has diabetes as well. Not only this, but I have a few friends who also have diabetes. And recently, my grandmother had eye surgery done because of diabetes. And I hadn't known that your eyesight could deteriorate because of diabetes. So I really wanted to learn what diabetes was about, how it was transferred genetically, what are the symptoms, what actually happens to you. I really wanted to learn this. And I couldn't think of any real bad reason why I couldn't do this. It was something I was extremely interested in, something I really wanted to learn, and something I had the motivation to keep going with because there's so many questions I wanted answered. And so I thought, I'll leave this one as well. The next idea I had, I was especially ecstatic about doing. It was making a website about Korea, specifically South Korea. And the reason for this is because I am from South Korea. I was born there, but when I was very, very young, I moved to Canada, and now I'm a Canadian citizen. And while I have been to Korea on several visits before, I have never actually gotten to learn what the Korean culture is like. I only know what some of my favorite dishes are from Korea, such as kimchi jjigae, and how to speak the language at a very minimal level. So I thought this was a good way for me to learn all about my home country. That idea excited me so much. But then the problem came about how I was going to do this project. Yes, there are a lot of people in this area that could tell me so much about Korea because they just moved from Korea or they watch a lot of Korean news, or if it was just because they also had an interest in Korea and did their own research. There's also Korean newspapers which are sold at Hanarum, also known as H Mart, and there's a lot of news about Korea online as well. And there are many books published about the beautiful country of South Korea, and even professors who I could talk to because they have studied Korea themselves. There were so many things I could do to learn about my home country. But then the problem about the actual project came. I realized that when I thought about learning about Korea, I didn't want to learn from other people or by reading newspapers or reading books, but it's because I wanted to go there and learn the culture by experiencing it myself. However, going to Korea takes a lot of time and a lot of money, and I didn't want to spend a lot of time away from my family as well. Yes, I have many family members in Korea as we speak, but to get the full experience of Korea, I know I have to stay away from my family members and stay at a homestay family that would actually allow me to experience full Korean culture. I know from past experiences when I went to Korea, my family would not allow me to have the full Korean experience. I also thought I didn't really want to leave my parents behind or my younger brother. It is only in 2 years' time that I'm going away to university, and I want to spend as much time with them as I possibly can now. So I thought, because I don't want to leave my family behind, and that's a big issue, I decided, no, I can't do this one either. So I said no to this idea as well. The next one I considered doing for my personal project was how to draw manga. As I said before, I love watching anime, and anime is usually based on a drawn manga. And I thought, I enjoy drawing manga. I draw it all the time. So why don't I actually learn how to draw it properly and make it a project? But then I realized one thing. For the past 2 years, I've been learning how to draw manga, but it's not a constant driving force in my life. I would learn it for a month, and then about 2 months, I wouldn't even look at my drawing books. And then after that, I would go again and do it for another month. It is not consistent. Once again, this was the same problem with how to make animations. I needed something that I knew I'd be interested in for a long time. And once again, from past experience, I learned that this was not something I'd be constantly interested in. And that is why I also took this one out. The reason I didn't do this next project as well is because of the same reason why I didn't make a website all about Korea. It is learning Japanese or Chinese. I realized that I could learn a lot from going to different schools, talking to Japanese or Chinese people, and taking lessons and reading books. But I realized that what I wanted to do was go to Japan or China and have the full in body experience of living in their culture and interacting with the people. And once again, I did not want to leave my mom, dad, and brother here while I went off to another country because I'd be leaving them in 2 years and I wanted to spend as much time with them as possible. So I quickly stopped thinking about this idea as well, simply because I had the same thinking for this one as about making a website with Korea. And so now we finally come to my last idea, making a script and acting it out. The reason I decided not to do this is because when I wrote it down, I was already excited about it. But after leaving it for about a day and coming back, the idea seemed a lot less appealing to me. And I thought, if it seems a lot less appealing to me after only a day, the fact I have to do the same project for a few months is not going to be a good idea, considering I have to keep this a constant project if I want to do a good job on it. So I thought, if it's only a day and it's already like this, I'm not going to last a few months doing this. So I said no to this idea as well. So I was left with the two things I couldn't find any faults with from the very beginning: story writing and making a website about diabetes. I thought that story writing was fun and interesting because of the wide variety of subjects I could try to cover. But diabetes was interesting because it had some of my family history involved. I continued to think and eventually went to ask my parents. They both listened to my reasons and told me they thought I should try to write a story. When I asked them why, they told me it was because they thought I would enjoy it more. I didn't understand, so they explained that they knew the subject of diabetes was extremely important to me as a part of my family, but they wanted me to have something to do that was more because of my hobbies and less to do with family history. They wanted this for me because they knew this was a project I only did once in my school life, and they wanted me to have fun as well as learn, and they thought I would have more fun writing a story. I went to my desk and thought about what they said, and I realized that I agreed with them. I loved the idea of putting some sort of character into a new context. I always enjoyed these subjects at school when we did short stories. And so I decided my personal project was going to be on story writing.